Hi, and welcome to another edition of Kitchen Art with Nick Augustino. I'm Joni Sutter, your host. Nick and Sherry, you're back in the kitchen
Joni.
with us today. Hi.
Tiggy Tucker. Hi. Yeah, we're back.
We're back, and we have a really great show for everybody today. I'm going to let you, Sherry, tell the folks at home, what are we making?
Today we're going to make some East Side German coleslaw.
Oh, big number. Everybody wants that recipe, Sherry.
But that's why I don't understand why we're doing that today.
Well, it's a signature of East Side for the last 70 years.
I know, so you're going to share it?
Yes.
Some of it.
Some of it.
Some of it.
Yeah, you know how
Okay,
that
so
works.
today's the day to kind of open the doors a little bit and let us peek in. But we're going to learn a little bit. Maybe it's not going to be quite what East Side has, but close.
Very
enough.
close.
Not close enough so people can't come out and taste the real McCoy. But let's start with the cabbage.
Yep. We have at East Side, we order about 200 pounds of cabbage a week, and we shred our own cabbage to this consistency right here. And what we'll do is we'll add some red wine vinegar, oil, sugar, salt,
Okay.
little ground mustard, and a little parsley.
Why do you shred your own cabbage, Sherry? I mean, why you could probably buy bags of cabbage.
Because we go through so much of it, and it's at a cheaper cost to do that, and the consistency that we want, we can do it ourselves.
Okay, and you probably, Nick, before the show started, we were talking about what people expect.
Right.
There's some things you can change, and there's some things you better not change.
We learned very quickly, you can't change the coleslaw, can't change the cottage cheese. You better have it out there as soon as they walk through the door, and that's what they want. So even like you said, when we looked at shredded coleslaw already, a little thicker than what we use.
Right.
Can't do it. Can't
do
make
it.
that change.
Yeah. And so this is a way that you can control that. So
And they will recognize it because they eat it all the time. So
Yeah,
they'll
they
nail
do.
it right in a minute.
Now, the importance of coleslaw against some of the other heavier dishes, I think, creates the balance for the German plate that we're talking about. You've got some of your cream dishes, and this coleslaw is not cream-based?
No, we don't use cream mayonnaise in our coleslaw. It's a vinegar, oil, sugar, salt, pepper base. What the Germans I see ever since I started learning how to cook German was they take sugar, sweet and sour.
Yeah.
Let's mix it just like apple pie.
Right.
Sweet apples, sour apples make the greatest apple pie. Same
Right.
thing with German potato salad.
Right.
Sugar, vinegar makes that special taste. Same thing with our
Same thing.
coleslaw.
So it's complementing, maybe a cream dish or a meat dish. So Sherry, let's get started then
Okay,
with
sure.
the coleslaw.
Here we're going to put 1 part of the vinegar to 2 parts of oil.
She's not even using a measuring cup, Nick.
Yeah,
I
pretty
kind of
soon
do it by eye.
it's all habit now.
Do you taste it once you make a big pot of it? Do you have like a tasting crew that I could volunteer on? Say, okay, this is not right. Or
Actually, we let that coleslaw sit for about an hour and a half so the sugar can dissolve. If you taste it right after you make it, it's going to have the grit of the sugar. So you got to keep stirring it and let it dissolve for about 20, 25 minutes. Then it becomes the coleslaw that we serve. We can't make it and serve it. We still have to let it sit so the vinegar oil mixes into the cabbage and still have a firm cabbage, but still have the sweet and sour, but still have the sugar as dissolved.
she did sugar and salt, Sherry?
Sugar, salt, black pepper.
Okay.
Okay. Then we'll do a little dried mustard.
Ah.
I thought you weren't going to tell him that.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
And then we'll put some parsley.
Fresh parsley.
Yes.
Yes.
What a lovely green color. Nothing like using fresh. Do you have
There it is.
huge bowls?
Yes.
I mean, how many, what did you say you go through a week?
About 200 pounds.
200 pounds of coleslaw in a week. You've got to have these
We have
giant-
around, I think it's a 20-quart bowl. We probably do maybe 4 heads at a time, and then we put it in large containers, and so we open it up. And probably make 4 containers, the large containers, a day, and then we'll use it that day.
Okay.
And that's how it goes out. And like I says, everybody gets a bowl. Everybody's expecting a bowl. Everybody likes seconds, and we
Yeah.
offer as much coleslaw as you want. If you want to sit there and eat coleslaw and crackers for a while, that's a cool thing at our restaurant, and the
Okay.
cottage cheese. And it goes well with beer.
Now, okay. Now let's talk about what, we have talked about the restaurant business, and today we're going to talk about the future of the restaurant business a little bit. But what I think that I'd like to know is, Sherry, you're not serving, you're serving that ahead of the entree.
Exactly.
Right when they
Okay.
sit at the table.
Okay, and we're going to find out more about that when we come back. Well, we're back, and why you're stirring all the ingredients in, but we can't serve that right away, right?
No, you got to give it about a couple hours for the sugar to dissolve with the vinegar, or you get a
Okay.
crunch taste of the sugar.
And what we were saying too was you're not serving that with the entree. That's coming out beforehand. So when you're at the east side, what typically comes out beforehand?
I can answer that.
Yep.
We got cottage cheese, coleslaw, crackers. We offer a saltine cracker, and we actually get away with a saltine because when I first bought the restaurant, I said, "Oh, I'm going to go to classic crackers, a better cracker."
Okay.
They don't want a better cracker; they want that saltine cracker. And they love putting the coleslaw, the cottage cheese on top of that, popping it down, sipping the beer, and they'll spend about 5 to 7 minutes eating cottage cheese and coleslaw.
Is that all right with you?
Very much so. Very much so. I worked, my father, Monty Green in Middletown. You walk in there, they give you an antipasto, a loaf of bread, and a glass of wine. The minute you sit down, that was their signature show. Bill, which left to us, our signature show. Come in, have free open cottage cheese, open coleslaw. And there was a couple restaurants that did it, a few German restaurants that did it. Hawthorne had a cottage cheese for a while, doing their cottage cheese. So we're not the originator of it, but we are still doing it. And we're probably the only ones that are still coming out with the cottage cheese and coleslaw. So,
And what you're saying to somebody is start your culinary experience while you're looking at the menu. Even.
That's exactly
right. You know, sit down and take a load off. And before we get to the cottage cheese part, I want to talk about the future of the restaurant business, Nick. You know, we've talked about the past, we've talked about the present. If I were starting a restaurant now, what kinds of things should I be concerned with?
well, if I'm going to, as a consultant that I am, the first thing that I think is electronics is today. Electronics, you need a lot of different electronics to make your restaurant run to keep up with the prices and the competitiveness of fast food chains and other restaurants. As being a Java restaurant, a lot of them won't get into the computer POS, point of sale systems, reservation systems, kitchen systems, ordering systems.
Why don't they?
Expensive. And another thing is training. I mean, the minute we come in, we have to have a training period for our electronics. And that's changed in the last 10 years. And now all of a sudden, I got my waitresses got a laptop that's in their hand, and they could take your order right at the table, and they could push a button. It goes right to the chefs, right to the bar, anywhere they want to go, and then we have people bringing it out. Electronics has made us to do larger amounts, much more reasonable, and it's done for every business, not just the restaurant business, but all companies.
All companies.
And it's specializing, like I said.
For those of you who haven't seen previous shows, a Java restaurant is one that is
Singly owned.
singly owned. Okay, so
Mom and pop.
it's not your chain
I
restaurant.
don't have 7 of them. I only got 1.
Okay, so for the mom and pop restaurant to, you know, go into the training and the expense of some of these electronics, maybe some people don't do, but it does hit your bottom line, doesn't it?
Well, now it does. First of all, electronics actually put you in a different world because you know food costs automatically now, you know labor costs. You're able to find your costs. How many people we're serving today? What did we serve last year? You know, fast answers quick that you need to run and make good decisions. Decisions in restaurant, like I said, is speed and accuracy. Now that gives us a little edge to have speed and accuracy on our business. So electronics, that's the way to go. Get started in that, no matter if you're a mom and pop shop, which I am, or if you're in the, like I said, chain restaurants are already developed. I went out to a restaurant the other night and they gave me their menu on a pad that's all lit up, and you get to see the picture of the food that you're eating, and you push the button and it automatically goes to the kitchen. We don't even need the waitress now, you know, it comes off a pad. But plenty of stuff coming.
Yeah, but it's so nice to have the interaction with the waitress. Let's talk about the coleslaw. I mean, the cottage cheese.
Here we have some small curd cottage cheese, which we would add some horseradish to. And sometimes when we get the horseradish in, it's stronger at different seasons than others. So you really need to taste this product, because if you get a really strong horseradish and you give it to the customer, it's going to take their nose off, basically.
Who would think that there would be a strength differential with a product that you get. Who would think that? Who
Oh,
would
yeah.
think that you have to open up the container, do a taste test, because what, Sherry, when they make it, it's stronger right away?
And the brine in it that makes it, horseradish will get to your nose, but what we do here with ours is we put it in a napkin and strain off as much water, much of the brine as we can. Because that brine has a tendency to make your cottage cheese a little more acidier too. So that's something we'll give a secret to when you're making this cottage cheese is make sure when you scoop out the horseradish, it's as dry as it can be.
It's as dry as it can be.
So
Okay.
it keeps it without that acid taste.
So maybe we can see what else she's
What was that,
adding
mayonnaise?
here.
Yeah, we add a little mayonnaise, a little black pepper. Now we're going to add some parsley,
Fresh.
fresh, and some dry mustard. And like I said, you got to taste this one also.
Stir that all around.
Yep, and this one you also need to let it set, just so the horseradish gets into the curds of the cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese. Some cottage cheese can be really runny. Do you drain yours?
The small curd, we get ours in a 35-pound bucket now.
32, yep.
32-pound
Yep.
bucket. And especially for us, and it's pretty much drained. It was Gaida for a long time.
Yes.
Now who is it?
We get it from Agar.
Agar.
Agar. Okay.
Yep.
But then again, you got to go in there and pick the product that you want.
Pick the product you want. So remember that with your horseradish. You know, if you notice there's a difference in your consistency and you eat your cottage cheese one time, and it's the taste test.
Yep.
What we talked about with horseradish in one of our previous shows was some people like to grind it at home. And if you've ever done that and not opened the window, you'll know what I'm talking about. You can really have some watery eyes.
Well, the best horseradish is made in the backyard with the older people. They made horseradish. As being in the restaurant business, most of my horseradish was bought from the neighborhood. I never used to get the store-bought. I'd find somebody who's making horseradish, and usually that's the best because the preservatives and stuff that they want to throw in these things does have a tendency. Horseradish is excellent. There's a lot of different recipes for it and whatnot. So,
Do they add
just like
vinegar to
mustard.
horseradish?
I really don't know.
As a
I really don't know.
preservative, I wonder.
I'm sure it does. If it's a preservative, as far as a thing, I'm pretty sure it's probably vinegar.
Okay.
But I
So
will check.
cottage cheese, when you were over in Germany, and we have to tell the folks at home that you did go over there,
Yep.
and on several occasions.
Yeah, I've been over there a dozen times. Like I said, so I wanted to learn as much of what's going on to bring to my restaurant. And we brought back a lot of things. Cottage cheese and coleslaw wasn't one of them. But we did bring back our meter boards. We did bring back the hocks and the way they do it and the rub that they use. It's amazing. And that has become a big seller. And that's what we're going to show you today.
Okay. Well, on our next episode, we're going to do that. And I know now when you do the liver pate, which is another thing that we can offer customers when they come in to dine, is it typically, that's an appetizer?
Right, we offer 4 appetizers that come with our dinners. Liver pate is one of them.
Okay.
Liver pate been there 1,000 years. We've been making it the same way that Bill made it. It goes over excellently. I feel that my liver pate with the recipe that we have is probably one of the best I've ever had. And we keep it the same way all the time.
Now, that's a future show. We're going to actually have the chef there. Sherry, how many? You're the executive chef at the East Side. How many chefs do you have that are there?
We have like 3 other.
Three other.
Yeah, we have a pastry, and then I have a butcher, does most of my prep, and then I also have a line chef.
Okay, so one of these folks does the liver pate
Yes.
on a regular basis?
Yes.
Okay, so that's for an upcoming show, which will be exciting to see. Now, how long are we going to leave that cottage cheese there?
It's going to be like an hour or 2, also the same as the coleslaw, just so it can set in and the horseradish can get through to the small curd cottage cheese.
Okay, very good. Well, let's plate that up a little bit and
Sure.
see what, we're going to do a
put
little
this over.
taste test
Sure.
too. And while Sherry's doing that, some of the chain restaurants have a big takeout business, Nick.
Yep. I'll tell you.
And so what happens to the Java restaurant when you're saying, well, okay, we have to compete with...
Well, I don't really care to do takeout because it's really too much for us to leave the restaurant, bring my chefs out to do it. So this new company called Dine In came and offered me a business partnership with them. And what they do is they have runners. They'll come and pick up the food at my back door, run it to your office, run it to your house, run it to wherever they got to. And we're doing it in, you can do a party of 8, 12, 16, 20, or 30. So you
Oh,
can order,
big.
and that's right, you can order
Yeah.
if it's an office of 8 people, we'll order for 12 and have German at the office. They'll come and pick it up at my restaurant. You'll be able to have a menu where you can see the picture of the product and what you're paying for it. They'll deliver it, they'll set it up, they'll clean it up, bring it back, and now we're going to get into the takeout business, and we're going to let Dine-In handle the service where we'll handle the food.
That's great. That's great. Is there a radius that we should know about with that?
Tell you
do they
the
do, you know?
I don't really, the menu will come out, I think it's New Britain, Newington. There will be certain ones, and if they see it really affects that, they could put it in other Plainville and different areas like that.
Okay, so
And then
stay tuned for that. But call and find out what the...
Dine-In, there'll be a lot, we'll probably have that prepared in about 2 more weeks, ready to go. We just got the menus and the pictures and ready to go. And I think it's a heck of an idea, and that's where the computers come in again. Now they can get on their phones, they can call, they can handle it. We know what we got to serve, when we got to be there, where they're at, all times. So.
All times. Okay, now I'm going to put one of these dishes here, Sherry, so we can get the overhead shot because I want to see.
Cottage cheese. Yeah, thank you.
I want everybody to see. We're having it today. We're having a real smorgasbord today, which is a delight. She's even got some of the liver pate on there. Now, what Sherry's put on the plate here is what you've already, I'm going to use the word cured. It's really not the right word, but what has already
Cured.
kind of
Set.
set. Is that what you say? Okay. And let's
Go
give
ahead.
that a try.
I'm ready. I keep looking at it, waiting for you to start.
Nothing like the spring color of the greens on the coleslaw.
That tastes like East Side Cottage Cheese.
That tastes like you said coleslaw.
That's right.
Very good.
Very good.
But consistency. You have to achieve this consistency each and every time.
You'll know it if it's not. Let me tell you, they'll come right up to me
They'll
and tell
tell
me.
you.
They don't hesitate. I'm
Let's try
I'm
the
on the
coleslaw.
floor all the time. So if they don't like something, they're, hey, Nick, go there. I want to talk to you about this. And I'll listen.
Do people readily come forward and tell you?
We don't make bad food, so I don't have to worry too much.
Okay, but no, do they tell you what they like and what they don't like?
All the
that's
time.
Probably the worst thing for a business is if you think you're, on mark, and then somebody's like, well, they're really not, and they're not saying. How do you keep a good pulse of that within your organization? Because that could help any business.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a very good listener, and I separate what I need to know and what I don't need to know. If you're coming up and complaining, and it's something I really don't need to know because there's nothing I can do about it,
Right.
you understand that and you answer it that way. If there's something that you need to know and you need to change, then you put that in that category and say, yes, we're going to change it. I understand what you're saying and go that route.
Okay.
But always listen. Sometimes it helps to listen. You find out something that's wrong.
Right.
But a lot of things we hear is, these lamb shanks, you can't get them nowhere. They're so good. That's the big one last week. We use we don't use a domestic lamb shank, and it goes over so well. And no one wants to do the whole shank. They all want to do the lamb on the rib or whatever. We do it on the shank, the old world style.
Right.
So that goes over very well.
So it's important as you're, any business, restaurant business, our TV business, we always try to know where we are and we think we know where we are, but listen, because your customers and your employees have a lot to say. Sherry, this is very good, and everything really complements each other.
Yep.
And I've got to try a little bit of the liver pate. I know we're going to do that on another show, but it's funny, a lot of people won't even try liver.
Yeah, this is good.
It's very
But
good.
this is really good. And it's good for you, too.
Oh, yes. It'll give you all the things you need as far as vitamins and whatnot.
And but you got to get the right taste, and that's what we'll talk about in another show. Now, Sherry, as you look at what you do every day in the kitchen, how much is prep? What percentage versus when you're actually, like the coleslaw, which is make ahead, or the cottage cheese, make ahead, the liver pate, make ahead, versus, okay, now somebody's coming in and they want a potato pancake, which we saw in the last show, which they were so wonderful. What's the percentage of that?
Our restaurant, I feel, is really different because we do a lot of prep and everything's really old school compared to what today's world is, everything in a bag. Kind of opening everything in a bag, soup in a bag, gravy in a bag, potatoes in a bag. We do not do any of that. Everything that we have at the restaurant, for stocks are all boiled stocks from bone. Our turkey's fresh. We're not getting it in already produced. We're cooking it for 12 hours. We're breaking it down and we're serving it fresh. No preservatives in any of our worst. So everything in our restaurant is from scratch.
I didn't realize, maybe I'm really ignorant, I love to eat out, but I didn't realize until a few months ago that a lot of restaurants have pre-prepared food in bags.
Yes.
Like you talked about. I'm like, what do you mean the potatoes come in a bag?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very big
they're in a
time
bag.
now.
Open them up, maybe microwave them, or maybe,
They put it in hot water.
Hot water.
You can take
Hot
the
water
bag and you
bath.
put it in a hot water bath, and that's how you heat them.
Okay, so that's how they're achieving consistency each and every time, because they know when they package that potato that that's what it's supposed to taste like and that's what it's supposed to look like. But as we read and hear about how I love to eat, most of us love to eat,
3 times a day.
won't it be great, if, and we want to be eating fresh food and whole food, because the more of that we're eating, the better it is for us, and we can stay more physically fit instead of a lot of preservatives and additives, which they say if you stay on the outside of the grocery store and leave the inside alone with all the
You're all
packaged
right.
food,
Yep.
you're all right.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's making the coleslaw palatable. And how do kids respond to?
Same thing. Cottage cheese, coleslaw, and crackers.
Okay.
And they get right. We go through, like I said, we were using this type of cracker, but we go through saltines like 4 cases, 5 cases a week of saltine, 2 packs.
So sometimes, maybe that's something to offer families, moms or dads watching this program who say, geez, I want healthy alternatives for my family. This is very inexpensive. Coleslaw, my gosh, you could get a head of cabbage for next to nothing. The shredding is probably the key. You probably have an automatic type of shredder because the size. But what would you suggest to the home chef? I've got one of those graters that...
You can do it by knife. You can cut it by
do it by
knife.
knife?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Cabbage is easy to cut with a knife because it's firm. It's not soft, it's firm. So you can just shred right down with it.
Because if
with a
you
knife.
cut lettuce with a knife, it will turn brown.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
But cabbage
Cabbage,
does not?
different world.
Okay, and this is a nice alternative to something other than cream base. So I know myself, I'm trying to limit my dairy. This is a really nice alternative. Vinegar is excellent for you. You've heard of these vinegar tonics that they talk about. Apple cider vinegar and a little bit of water 3 times a day is supposed to be excellent for your metabolism and for your body. It turns alkaline when it enters your system. It's acid on the outside. So this is a really great alternative to that.
Well, basically, we go and we do 4 sauces a day, 3 soups a day, and that's our beginning of our day. At 9 o'clock, she's in the kitchen. She's going to make our gravies, our demi-glazes, our soups, all fresh every day.
Sherry, what did you say? How many a day?
4 gravies,
4 gravies.
3 soups.
3 soups.
3 soups a day?
Yep. All from scratch.
All from scratch.
Every morning?
Every morning, 6 days a week. And,
Wow.
And we don't reuse it. Like I said, it's made for the day. And it's fresh every morning. It lasts. And when you have good product that you're working with, it's very hard to make a mistake. If you have bad product, it's easy to make a mistake. So we make sure all our product's good so we don't make the mistakes.
And we had talked last time that the East Side, Nick and Sherry, they like to offer their chefs some creativity. So you may say, okay, everybody, come up with a recipe of the week.
Yeah.
So if you happen to go in the restaurant and you see something on a special, you might not see it the next week because that is which creates that creativity. So with the soups, you must have your staple soups that people like. Is there a barley? I think there's a barley.
There's a barley. There's a German onion that we do. We do a turkey rice because obviously we're doing fresh turkey every week. So I have the bones from the turkey that we're
makes
boiling
the turkey
for
rice.
We do a split pea. We'll do a lentil. We'll do a sweet and
Duck.
sour duck soup.
My favorite.
What else? I'll do a corn chowder.
Big time.
And that's, from leftover products also. So we do a really big variety of fresh soups.
And look for the corn chowder, folks, because we had the corn chowder on one of our previous shows, and they're all online, so you can watch them on the website. But the corn chowder was absolutely delicious and a wonderful spring and summer soup because the colors just were great.
Well, another thing at the East Side is we do offer the soup with the meal. So it's not where you have to buy a cup of soup there. Whatever meal you order, you could order any of the 3 soups that come with it. So you're actually able to get it without it's already included.
It's already included. So it's a nice little, part of an appetizer, but not really, but part of the entree, which is good. Soup is so nutritious and so good for us. And nothing like coming home to a nice cup or bowl of soup. But it takes time. You have to have the stock. You've got to start with good quality ingredients.
Programming.
And a lot of times with working full time, we don't have the chance to do that. So what a treat to be able to have a homemade soup. That's really great. Do you cook at home?
Yes.
You do?
Yep.
Jeez, I'd be tired at the end of
I
working
have
all day.
two growing boys, so I'm cooking a lot.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And they end up, basically, the two boys are getting into the restaurant business now. So we
Are
bring
they?
them. One's a dishwasher.
Really?
Well, he was a dishwasher until he found out that everybody else is making more money than he is. So he quit Papa.
But if you're a good dishwasher, you really, if you're a good dishwasher, you know what though? If you're a dishwasher, you get to watch everything that's going on in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
When I started in doing some flower arranging in the flower business, that's what I did. I swept the floor for a florist.
Yeah.
Why do you want to come in here and sweep the floor? I learned.
You learn.
I swept that floor and I did a good job, but I watched everything and I was able to learn. And I think a lot of times people aren't willing to take that step, but it's important.
Most of your cooks, you could actually ask them, started off as a dishwasher. And a lot of your chefs, they all started in the kitchen. They all started washing dishes. The chef brought them under his arm and says, here, start making salads. Next thing you know, they're running saute. Next thing you know, they're cooking. Then all of a sudden, they take their own wings and become the big chefs.
Well, I encourage you to look at some of the other shows where Sherry talks about how she got started in the business, and that's all really exciting. And so if any of you are interested in becoming a chef, you might catch some of the other shows that explains that. I want to thank you both for coming in again today. This is beautiful. Look forward to trying the coleslaw. Try it at home. Okay, there may be an ingredient that's not in yours, that's in here, but you're still going to come pretty close and you'll be able to enjoy that for your family. And thank you so much for coming again.
We sell it by the pint and half pint.
Okay. Kitchen Art with Nick Augustino, and let's do our signature.
Tiki-taka, tiki-taka,
Have a good night.
Thank you.